Hey, yo, before we get into this video, I am in a Twitter follow war with Ace Boogie. I brought this thing back into 100, and then this brother giving away a jersey now to boost his followers. So we gotta fight fire with fire. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a giveaway just yet, but what I can do is ask you guys on here again to follow me on Twitter because I need to beat Ace in this race, right? We're going to do the one hot chip challenge on AFC North Talk, and y'all not trying to see me out here. What if I eat that chip and I'm out of commission for a week? Y'all don't get no videos because of that. See, y'all don't want that to happen. So if you don't want to live in a world where there's no videos for a week because I got the cotton mouth after eating the one hot chip, or because I'm lactose intolerant, or find out I'm lactose intolerant because I had to drink the milk because the chip's so hot, then you don't want to live in that world is my whole point. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at KWEN_C. Please do it in mass. He is like 200 followers away. That jersey giveaway actually worked for him. So I need y'all to get on it. It's the fourth quarter. We got to lock in. All right. But that being said, let's get to the video. Hey, what's up? Look, I want to, since we're in a more positive mood, let's talk about some players that we feel very positive about with their upside and what that could mean for the future. And I'm going to start with two guys who aren't necessarily young, but they are new in their role for the Cleveland Browns at the very least. And I think they're going to garner a pretty interesting conversation. First guy is Ethan Ponick. Believe that's how you pronounce it, right? I know I keep mispronouncing it. I believe it's Ponick or Posick. Somebody tell me which one it actually is, or I'll just go on the team website and figure it out. But the interesting question here with Ethan is he's been playing at a top 5 level at center. He's not supposed to be the long-term solution, right? Nick Harris is supposed to be the long-term solution at center for this team. He was drafted in the 5th round to do this, and he was poised to do this at the beginning of the year. But Ethan stepped in because, unfortunately, Nick Harris got hurt at the beginning of the year for the whole season, and Ethan had to step in. And Ethan stepped in and played very well. And the question is Ethan the new center here? Now, I will pose this, right? Because right now it sounds no-brainer. He's a top 5 center. Why wouldn't you stick with him? Here's why I think this gets a little bit interesting. The last guy that was here was a top 5 center. And what I mean by that is no disrespect to J.C. Tretter, who's not on the team right now, and that's probably because of his stances on the union and everything else. And he's probably getting more blackballed than he is not capable of playing for a team. But still the point stands that when you're in between Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio, it's very easy to look good, relatively speaking, for an NFL player, right? So maybe this might be Ethan reaping the benefits that Nick Harris would have benefited from if he would benefit from if he was playing with those two guys. Because let's be honest, Wyatt's the best guard in all of football, and if there were such thing as a Hall of Fame lock guard, it would be Joe Bitonio. He's been that good, and he's always been that good. He's a veteran player. Both of these guys are veterans, and they just make a guy's life easier. So the question with Ethan is, hey, do you keep him, or do you think that he's more of a product of the situation that he had around him, and you let him walk in free agency and you stick with Nick Harris? Interesting question to be had. Interesting conversation. We're not going to have it for a while here because it doesn't matter to the offseason, but it will be one of those things we talk about a lot. Same thing with Jack Conklin and James Hudson. We're going to have that conversation a lot in the offseason. Same thing with Kareem Hunt. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to have a lot of conversations a lot. Let's talk about the next guy who's going to force a pretty interesting conversation. Sione Takitaki. He is a free agent after this year. He has overperformed, I think, his rookie contract. He was originally like a 4th round pick, and he was originally a pass rusher, if you want to believe it, right? He was, in that 2017 draft, I believe, he was a Dorsey pick. Well, no, he might have been a Sachi pick. Sachi or Dorsey, was either 17 or 18 he came in. And he was drafted to be a pass rusher. moved to inside linebacker very early in his stay in Cleveland, and then has slowly but surely shined as a run-stopping linebacker. But this year, he's flashed as just a really good linebacker, a Mike linebacker. And that's an interesting question to pose because he is younger. He is younger, or at least at the same age, as Anthony Walker. Anthony Walker, like Nick Harris, out for the year. Anthony Walker, not like Nick Harris, free agent after this year. So the question is going to be, who do you bring back? Do you bring them back both at a reasonable number? Do you have enough money to bring them back both? Or bring them both back? Or do you just keep one or the other for the same role? Given the problems we have had defensively with Green Dot and all that stuff, I would just keep both of them. But still, it's going to be an interesting conversation to be had. I'm glad that these guys are forcing this conversation because this means that, hey, we have impactful players on the defense again, which is nice. Isn't it nice to have players who make an impact on defense? It's great. But it's a conversation going to be had later on. Donovan Peoples-Jones. What is the price range for a Donovan Peoples-Jones long-term contract? Now, there are two different price ranges people are going to think of, right? People are going to think of what they feel like he's actually worth, or people are going to go with what the market says a dude like that is worth. And those two things are completely different. What people might feel like Donovan Peoples-Jones is worth is, hey, a modest, $12 million a year, 3-year deal. So about a 3-year, $36 million contract at the most, right? What the market might say is 18, 20, for a dude like Donovan Peoples-Jones, because let's not forget, Amari Cooper was at $20 million, and that was premier money when he got it. And it has jumped to like 35 in that time. So now the money Amari got for being a number one in Dallas. Remember, you get a discount in Dallas because they do all that media propaganda stuff, but you get a discount in Dallas. So that's the money Amari got for being a number one in Dallas a few years ago. That is now number two money. What do you do with Donovan Peoples-Jones? Now, I don't know when he's going to be a free agent. I think he has one more year left on his rookie deal. And then you might have restricted control, certain options that you can do. I'm not a cap expert. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, if he continues to have years like this, and you have to assume with Deshaun Watson coming in for the rest of his deal in like 3 games, like you have to assume he's probably going to take another leap or at least maintain the level of production he has, which is about 1,000-yard pace. You have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to spend to keep Donovan Peoples-Jones? Like, if you can keep him at what you think is the right value, which is probably closer to $8 to $12 million a year, then yeah, you do it. It's a no-brainer. But is the market going to match up with what you're willing to pay? And it just might not. All right, so those are the 3 players that we're going to have an interesting conversation about whether we bring them back or not. In either now or in a few years. Let's talk about the young guys. 3 guys in this draft class. And look, I know, when they lose, people want to get mad at everybody. People get mad at AB about these draft classes, all this stuff. He's had some pretty decent draft classes. This draft class is really working out for him because he didn't have a first-round pick. I don't even think he didn't have a second-round pick. He traded out the second round. But he got 3 really good players. 2 that I think are contributing heavily now. 1 that I think can continue to contribute if he gets more time. The first one that's been obvious is Martin Emerson. He looked like a first-round pick. He looks like a first-round pick. He's not out there in limited time. He's not out there in limited situations. They had him one-on-one on 4th and 2 with Mike Williams, and he won. They had him one-on-one with T. Higgins on a 4th and 4, and he won for the game. Both of those situations were potentially like game-ending. Unfortunately, the Browns missed the field goal in the Chargers game, so it didn't matter. But still, the point is, in the most stressful situations possible, the Browns had to rely on one boundary corner, and they said Martin was the dude. You don't normally get that out of a 3rd-round pick in the first year. You don't. That's uncommon. He's really good. He has length. He has his issues when he has to go long, sure, but he makes up for it with his physicality and his technique and his length. Martin Emerson, really, really good at football. Really good tackler. One of the best tacklers, I think, in that secondary. Him and Greg Newsome, they're both really sure guys there. In that young core with him, Greg Newsome, and then Denzel Ward, if he can get back on the field. Very interesting what could be there for the secondary. And look, even if Denzel has to miss time, which he does almost every year, you don't really worry about it when you got Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome. They haven't had to move Greg out the slot to accommodate for not having Denzel. And that's because Martin Emerson has been that dude, has been really good, has been quietly one of the better corners coming out of this draft. Like, there's sauce. And there's a conversation to be had about Martin being over Derek Stingley at this point. But he's been really good. Now, he's a little bit more protected with how the Browns use him than Derek Stingley is in Houston. But the point still remains, he's played really well. Another guy I felt like played really well is Alex Wright. And I wasn't a fan of this pick at all. Honestly, the pick I was a fan of was Perion Winfrey. He's not done much. But Alex Wright, on the other hand, been impressive. They used him inside, outside. He's been impressive when he's had to be out there. I think he can actually hold it down next year if they don't keep Clowney. I really think he can hold it down next year at that edge position. If Clowney becomes too expensive, I think they can hold it down with him, which is a great compliment. Now they're going to have to come and replenish pieces underneath him because they still have that issue of when Miles has to get off the field, there's a drastic dip in defensive line play. But Alex Wright, I think he's good enough. I think he's going to be good enough to be out there with Miles. The things I had concerns about him coming out of UAB was his strength. He didn't look like he converted his length to power as much as he should have. Nah, I'm not worried about that anymore. I've seen him do it in the NFL enough times where I think he can do it long term. So Alex Wright, I think, has also been somebody who's worth getting excited about. And the last guy is the other guy from Oklahoma we got. Well, we got other guys from Michael Woods from Oklahoma, but IT, who would have thought, Isaiah Thomas, who would have thought after the draft, especially me, that Michael Woods and Isaiah Thomas would be suiting up for a game that Perion Winfrey was a healthy scratch for. Now, again, I hope Perion joins the crew later this year or next year, and he really develops into what I think he can be because the potential is there. But that being said, IT, he's been nice. He's been nice to the point to where I'm like, Isaac didn't make the team over him, and he was hurt when Isaac was starting out there against the Falcons. But boy, would he have been a help if he were healthy in that game. He's been really good. His length has been great. His hand placement has been great. His motor has been great. And he has a nice little burst and step. Now, I think he's a key piece to this team because he's going to be another rotational edge rusher. So if you have Alex Wright to anchor the other side in the future, and you have Isaiah Thomas out there to be a rotational guy, that leaves like two more guys that you need to get to rush the passer at a better than average rate. And then you're fine. Right now, you have four guys I feel good about. You know, when they rotate out and they have to go to Isaiah Thomas and Alex Wright, I don't hate it. Like, it's not like when Porter Gustin was out there trying to make something happen with Joe Jackson, right? Like, this is much better than that. So I think IT has really carved himself out a role. He will be the third man in the long term off the bench. Well, he'll not off the bench, the third man in that rotation, that edge rusher rotation. And he's somebody that, hey, you can give Miles a breather, and you should want Miles to be able to get his breather without the defense completely collapsing, because a fresh Miles means we see Myles Garrett do more stuff, like when he hits that ridiculous spin move on a double team and gets like a sack. You know what I mean? That's how you can get more production out of Miles, if he's able to take breathers for a proper amount of time so he can be full on Myles Garrett when he gets out there. That being said, those are my 6 guys that I think are going to be interesting conversations going forward because they're playing really well. Let me know who your guys are in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night. Hey, before we get into this video, I am in a Twitter follow war with Ace Boogie. I brought this thing back into 100, and then this brother giving away a jersey now to boost his followers. So we gotta fight fire with fire. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a giveaway just yet, but what I can do is ask you guys on here again to follow me on Twitter, because I need to beat Ace in this race, right? We're going to do the one hot chip challenge on AFC North Talk, and y'all not trying to see me out here. What if I eat that chip and I'm out of commission for a week? Y'all don't get no videos because of that. See, y'all don't want that to happen. So if you don't want to live in a world where there's no videos for a week because I got the cotton mouth after eating the one hot chip, or because I'm lactose intolerant, or find out I'm lactose intolerant because I had to drink the milk because the chip's so hot, then you don't want to live in that world is my whole point. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at KWEN_C. Please do it en masse. He is like 200 followers away. That jersey giveaway actually worked for him. So I need y'all to get on it. It's the fourth quarter. We got to lock in. All right. But that being said, let's get to the video.